Hello, and welcome back to Let's Talk Chicago Bears. And it's actually after a victory. Can you believe it? Oh my God. We have finally stopped the 14 game losing streak that was almost a year, because I believe the last time the Bears won before yesterday was October 22nd. So thank you, Bears. I mean, what a night. That was a great game. The only thing I'm going to say, there's not going to be very negatives on this show today, because God knows we don't need them, but there were some negatives, but not many. But remember, again, Washington. But a win is a win is a win, right? Thank God we're back in the W. You know, I really wish we could have won that game on Sunday. We would be 2-3 right now. Yeah. But we're 4-1, but we'll take it because the Bears desperately needed that win. I mean, you just don't know how much more those guys could have taken. Only bad thing is, Flus is gonna see to live another week. But whatever, we don't care. I don't even want to talk about that right now. Let's talk about a good game. But first and foremost, we have to talk for a minute about number 51, Dick Butkus, who passed away yesterday. And I don't know, maybe that's another reason we got to win. The Bears played for Dick Butkus. Thank you, Dick. But what a wonderful Chicago Bear. He was drafted in 1965, and he was one of the most fierce, respected players in the league. He was darn right scary. I mean, of course, you can't play football like they did back in the 60s and 70s, but he was just, I remember hearing somebody interviewed many, many years later, and he said, you didn't want to get tackled by him. And he goes, and one time we were in a scrub, and there was a big giant pile, and he bit me. It's so funny. But he was a badass player on that field. He was so good. And in college, they even have a award, the Dick Butkus Linebacker Award, given for the best linebacker each year. So that's quite a compliment. He went to Illinois, so and they do that every year in college, and I like it a lot. It really says a lot about Dick Butkus. But what a wonderful man. And the thing about Dick too, he was always an advocate for the players after he retired, and he was always a fan of the Chicago Bears, even this season. And too bad he couldn't live long enough to see the win, but he saw it. He had a front row seat. And he was probably sitting next to George Halas and Walter. Yep. So, God bless you, Dick. You lived a wonderful life. You will definitely be missed. I always liked seeing what he had to say every year about the Bears, but wonderful man. So, God bless. Rest in peace, my man. You deserve it. Okay, so, yeah, we won. Can you believe it? And let's talk about my threes right off the bat. You know, my threes, I say it every time before the previous game. Time of possession, turnovers, penalties. You got to win the time of the possession. Bears won it by 1 minute, but they won it. It was 30-29. But the biggest thing, last night was those 2 turnovers. Interception and fumble recovery. Huge. I mean, the momentum swing, you can't even put a price on what turnovers do, especially for a team like the Bears where the defense has been struggling mightily. And lastly, they only had 3 penalties, unlike last week where they had 10. So they won the threes. And what do I always say? Come on, people. You're either in the game, you got a good chance to win it, or you're going to get that W. See, my threes are important. This old lady knows a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. So, I mean, really, it was such a wonderful game. But I will say, how many people, I'm sure there was a lot of them, when we were in that third quarter, and they started scoring and driving, we were like, I know what I was saying. I know what my son was saying. My friends were saying, who I was with, here we go again. Did you not feel like that? But the nice thing is the Bears didn't. That wasn't in their head, and they just kept playing. And they played a clean, pretty much error-free football game. And see what happens when you do that? This is what I talk about. And those penalties, penalties, penalties. It did cost us a couple times, but the Bears overcame. And 3 penalties, accepted penalties, not that big a deal. There was a few other ones, but they weren't accepted, but we don't care about that. So, see how big those are? Because I preached that. Oh, my God. I was so mad last night when I think it was Stevenson. It was on third down, and we stopped him. And Stevenson, all he had to do was not hit the guy because it was uncatchable pass interference down the 3-yard line. They score a touchdown. So, that's why I hate penalties, but we won anyway. So let's talk about that. I mean, what a game, huh? Everybody's in a good mood today, right? I'm in a much better mood. It was really tough the Monday show wasn't as bad because I was so pissed and I was so I let it all out, and I felt a lot better after I did my Monday show. But my Wednesday show, I just didn't feel it, and it was not a good show. So I apologize for that if you watched it. Not many did. So the Bears, 282 yards passing. Washington did have 388 yards, so our defense still has a lot of issues, especially the backfield. We'll talk about that, but who cares? We fucking won. But what I really like, besides the passing, is our rushing was 178 yards. Huge. It started out slow, but the Bears stayed with it, and I really, really liked the game plan. They were... You have to eat up the clock with the run. Run is huge because it wears down their defense, and it keeps your offense on the field. You get some first downs. You eat up that clock. So it was huge. Of course, until we're going to talk about our injuries, until Herbert, Johnson both went out with injuries. We were down to our third string running back, and he's more of a fullback because Foreman wasn't even activated for that game. But anyways, we're going to keep going here. Fields had 4 touchdowns. I know he had touchdowns last week, but we lost, so I didn't give him credit. But I'm going to give him credit this week for sure. 4 touchdowns, 282 yards passing, 57 yards rushing. He was sacked 3 times. But most importantly, Fields did not turn the ball over. Thank you, God. Huge, huge, huge difference in his play, right? And he was really quicker on his decisions last night. You could see it. He was sacked 3 times. What are you going to say? They had 13 sacks going into that game, Washington, so they are a good sacking team. So what are you going to say? But it was only 3. We can live with that because he didn't make any mistakes on those 3 sacks. So he had a very solid game, and we all know Fields really needed that W. I mean, he had a pretty impressive game last Sunday, but he made 2 big, costly errors that cost the game. So, but not last night. And I'm happy for this kid because, I was on him Monday. There's no doubt about it. I was pissed, and I was on him. But he had a solid game, and I'm so happy for him. And like Getsy keeps saying, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. The offense is going to click. Well, it did last night. 40 frickin' points. Yeah, 40. 40. I know. Was that awesome? Okay, so our running back, Herbert, number 24, had a good game, too, until he got hurt. I think if he stayed in, he didn't get hurt, he probably would have had 100 yards, but he had 76 yards. But unfortunately, he went out hurt. He tried to come back in, and he went right down. So he should never have done it, but he did. But that's okay. So good job, Herbert. Awesome. Unfortunately, I kept saying, where's Johnson? Where's Johnson? I was at a friend's house, so I wasn't hearing a lot of stuff on the TV because we were talking and stuff. So, I heard he went out. Then I found out he went out with a concussion because I was like, why is Johnson not in the game? So that did hurt our rushing, but we still had under 76 yards. So right on. Moore, number 2, we know what he did last night. 3 touchdowns, 230 yards. Was he freaking awesome? The one thing, though, was when he was running down the sideline and they said he went out of bounds, how come we didn't get to see that? They didn't replay it at all. So I'm really wondering, it didn't look like he went out of bounds to me, but Obviously, the Bears didn't fight it, so he must have. But boy, what a night that guy and Fields. If we can keep this up, it is going to be a 1-2 trick that's going to be awesome. And then, unfortunately, Fields did overthrow at least 3 times that I counted open receivers, twice for Mr. Mooney. I felt bad for Mr. Mooney because he was open twice, and those balls were both overthrown. Overthrown and side throw he missed. And then he missed, I think, more on another one. But out of all of it, he missed 3. That's okay. He's going to learn. But Moore, boy, oh boy, did that look good. Now we're like, yeah, this is why we signed Moore, right? So, it was unbelievable. It was just beautiful. And then Clement, 85, our tight end. He had 42 yards receiving and 1 touchdown himself. And on that play, when Clement got that touchdown, Moore really helped him out because the route Moore was running, they were sure that they were going to go back to Moore, DJ Moore, and they double covered him. It opened up a line, and then the linebacker had to cover Clement. Boom, touchdown. He got that all on himself. Congratulations. The offense really had a very good game. The offensive line did a pretty damn good job last night. I got to say, I kept saying, wow, he's actually got time to throw. And it really helped that Kevin Jenkins was back in the game. You got to give this kid a lot of credit. He was on IR. He missed, 4 games, 3 games? I don't know. It doesn't matter. 4 games. And he hasn't played since preseason. And he came in and he played a hell of a game. So, everybody's been on him the last few years, but congratulations, young man. You really stepped up and did a good job. What really concerned me, though, was when our center, Patrick, went out, 62. I was like, oh, no, here we go again. He had a concussion, hopefully with this mini bye, because I think that's what Johnson went out with, too. These concussions with this mini bye we got, they'll be back for next Sunday because we're going to need them on the 15th when we play Minnesota. So, but I was like, oh, no. And we were like, oh, God, here we go. So Cody Whitehair had to step in as the center, and there was a couple wild, I can't think of the damn word, but there was one where he released it, and Fields had to go up real high to get it, and then he ran for a first down. It was awesome. So there was a few I was getting worried. I didn't want any fumbles, right? Because at that game it was still a very, very clean game. But you got to give that offensive line that has been, we've been giving shit to. Each week they look better and better and better. I got to say it. They're coming together. Our rookie looked pretty good last night. Didn't have any stupid penalties. So if we can get that line better and better each week, it's going to help Justin tremendously. So let's talk about the defense a little bit because we got to talk about them. There was 5 sacks. Can you believe it? 5. I was shocked. Although I got to say, I don't want to burst the bubble. Washington does have one of the worst offensive lines. I mean, we bitch about ours. Look how bad theirs were. I mean, the Chicago Bears sacked them 5 times. We had 2 sacks going into that game. But what really irritated me, though, is they could have had 3 more sacks easily. There was several times that the Bears players had him in the grasp and they couldn't bring Howell down. I did not understand that. And I got to say, you guys had 5 sacks. You had 2 turnovers. Number 27, Streitman, you know me with names. Number 27, our D backfield, he had an awesome game yesterday. He had a sack, and he had an interception. Yeah. I mean, that kid had a great, great game. So let's call out the guys that got the sacks. We might as well. Number 53 linebacker TJ Edwards. Right on, homegrown, Lake Villa. And Stredman, number 27. I know I'm saying is wrong. Who also had the interception. Number 95, our D-line man Walker. Number 91, D-line man and I don't know his name. That was the guy we signed right before the season. You know who I'm talking about. And number 94, D lineman Green. So, two D linemen had interceptions. No, wait, three. Three D linemen had interceptions, and then a linebacker, and then the backfield. That is awesome. Or sacks. Huge. Again, I know it's Washington, but you know what? These guys can get a taste of it. And they're like, ooh, this is all right. So maybe moving forward, we can get more and more. You know what? Maybe the more this defensive line starts working together, maybe they'll get better, because we all know they have not been good. The D still has some issues. Well, we had a lot of issues last night because we gave up 20 points, but the backfield, we were missing 3 starters in the backfield. So if we had those 3 guys in there, I just think it would have been much better. But the bottom line is the D actually played a very good game considering how they have been playing. So congratulations on that. They also got a fumble. They forced a fumble and got the recovery. I never figured out who got that recovery, but it doesn't really matter. So they had 5 sacks and 2 turnovers. Huge. And considering how we were missing players, I got to tell you, very impressed. Again, Washington, but you know what? We're just gonna enjoy this game, right? Everything just seemed to work. They played a solid game. The Bears had no turnovers, only 3 penalties, and most importantly, this is the most important, they finished a game. Something they have not done all year. They finished a game, and that is huge. And you know what? They worked their asses off. They've been through a lot this year with, their D coordinator quitting and the Claypool thing, and just bad losses, stupid shit, turnovers unnecessarily. But last night, they played really, really good. And we have got to give, I got to say the team deserves an A-, if not B+ on that game. I really do. There was some things, so you gotta know there were some things. There was a couple players on defense I'm going to call out in a minute because they did. But good job. Offensive line, defensive line, huge. We've talked about that all year, how we really need those lines to step up. And it helped Fields. Look how much more comfortable he looked last night. So much more comfortable. He did have overthrows, but it's going to happen. And I was impressed with him in the second half, where we all know that's his biggest problem. But when he lost his 2 first and second running backs, we brought the other guy in, number 35. But Fields didn't panic. He knew when to run and when not to run. And that was the smart thing. He knew in his head, okay, I got no running backs, so I'm going to have to think about this. I can't get hurt. I got to run in the right places, and he did. Very smart play by Justin. You know what? And I want to give him his props because I've been on his ass this whole year. There's no doubt about it. And I told him, I've said, he could get better, and I want him to. God, yeah, I want the Bears to win. But it is one game. But we're going to take it. We're going to enjoy it on this mini bye. And just enjoy it. Now, the defense, I said, looked much, much better. Unfortunately, I do have a couple standouts that had rough games last night. In the backfield, they were both in the backfield. Number 27, Hicks, particularly looked. Every time there was a long pass or touchdown, it was on him. He wasn't even close a couple times. It was like, where the hell are you? But he's a backup, so that's why he's a backup, right? And our rookie, number 27, Stevenson, he had a couple plays where it looked a little rough. He had some wide open receivers too, but he's a rookie. He's going to make those mistakes. So really, all in all, the defense had a very, very good game. And I got to give Coach Flus some credit in the second half of that game. He went out of his comfort zone, and he called blitzes in that second half. And that's not something he does. That's not something the Bears have been doing. We know that, and it's been pissing people off. They've just been trying, but they blitzed that guy the second half, and look what happened, Flus. So you might want to think about doing a few more blitzes, although with the fact that you have a bunch of second-string guys in the backfield, you're taking a chance blitzing, but it worked. it worked because Washington does have one of the worst offensive lines. So you got to go after them, right? Because people go after our line all the time, so why not, right? But you got to give Flus credit for that. Getsy called a good game, and I get on these guys. There's no doubt about it because I'm a passionate Bears fan, and I also do a show, so I got to give you the good and the bad. That's what we do. I mean, other shows may not, but that's what I do. And again, my show. But good game by both coaches. Our special teams were solid again. We can rely on Santos. He and our punter did a great job. So all in all, this team does deserve. All right, I'll give them a A minus all the way around because they really did do a good job. Regardless who they played, they needed the win. They got it. They're going into a mini bye with some positivity. Because had they not won last night, I'm not sure how they would have come out. So this is going to help them. They're going to have a few days off. They can all rest their bones and think about it and come back and say, yeah. Now, there were some bad things, though, because we had major injuries to that game. They were fucking falling like flies last night. So from what I know and remember, it could be more. Number 62, Patrick. I do know our center went out with a concussion. I do know that. Number 24, Herbert, our running back. I don't know why he went out. It seemed like something was wrong with his leg. So who knows? Hamstring? We don't know. Hope not. Number 23, the backup to Herbert, our running back, who is really, really good. He went out with a concussion. Number 27, Stredman, our D-line, who had an interception and a sack. He went out towards the end of the game. Number 32, Smith, who had a pretty decent game last night. I saw him. He is a backfield guy, also a second stringer. I don't know if he is. Anyways, he had a solid game. He went out hurt. 49, our linebacker, Edmonds, went out. I mean, so I really hope that this mini bye helps these guys get healthy because I was like, oh my God, we have no starters in this game. It was on defense. It was just like and then two running backs. Woo! But the Bears hung together and they won that game. And you know what? Again, it was Washington, but it was impressive, especially when those people were getting hurt and going out. That backfield was just decimated. I mean, we have got to get our guys back in the game for Minnesota for sure. But we'll worry about that next Friday. Good thing, though, got rid of one of the anchors around our ankle. Claypool was traded to Miami. We gave him one of our seventh round picks and got rid of him, but the Bears got the Miami sixth round pick. So good, because he was trouble. So, it is just a really good day. It's a victory Friday. And, they just did. They really pulled it together. There was so many positives, very few negatives, and the Bears have got to take this and ride that wave. Because now they're going to play a team. I know Minnesota doesn't have a great record. What are they, 2-2 going into this week? But they're a much better team than their record shows. They should have won for sure the first game of the season. I know that. I watched that game against Tampa Bay. Minnesota should have won that game. They gave that one they gave it away on turnovers, and I think that's what's been hurting Minnesota. But they're a good team. So, but again, what am I doing? Let's talk about that on Friday. Let's just enjoy this week and this weekend. I can sit down and enjoy football on Sunday and not be pissed off or this or that, and I can just enjoy the day. Let's enjoy it. Yeah, baby. The Bears won. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I'm like knocking over my microphone. I'm just getting so excited. So, it's just a great game. So, you know what? I did promise if the Bears win, I would sing the Bears touchdown song. and you know you all want to hear it. Now, come on. If this don't make you laugh today, and when I'm done singing this, there is something wrong with you, okay? Something's wrong with you, okay? Are you ready? I hate this song, but I'm going to sing it. A one, and a two, and a three. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Make every play clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Put up a fight with the might so fearlessly. You'll never forget the way you thrilled the nation with your T formation. Bow down, Chicago Bears. Let them know why you're wearing the crown. Not really. You're the pride and joy of Illinois. Bow down, Chicago Bears. I know, was that awesome or what? Hopefully that made you smile. I've been promising that for over a year. I know, over a year. And I finally sang it. Hey, you know what? I love doing this show. I love to give you my point of view, and I also love to make you laugh. That is the idea. Of course, we know the face does it immediately when you turn on the show. Come on, let's face it. But I hopefully it made everybody happy. So we had a great game. This is what we've been waiting for, right? I mean, we went last year. We knew we got to get better. We got to get better. And this year, it's just been a shit show until last night. Now we got to go back. There's still some things to work on. It wasn't a perfect game, but we're going to leave that to the coaches and the players and the fans. We're just going to fucking enjoy this. I know we're 1-4, but let's just pretend we're 4-1. Yeah, baby. That's a lot funner, isn't it? Yeah. All right. I do want to tell a story. I've mentioned this before. So I want to get this in. So that you all watch the show. So my buddy Dan and I do a live podcast on Wednesday nights called Chicago Bears, the Lowdown. No, Chicago Bears. God. Yeah, I am so excited I can't even think right now. Okay, let's try this one more time. Dan's probably laughing when he's watching this show. Bears Country Podcast. The Download with Dan and Lynn. Now, Dan does 3 other podcasts on Bears Country Podcast. And last year, he was doing them. And a guy from England, Yorkshire, England, had been watching. And he finally reached out to Chris, and they became to Dan. And his name is Chris Watts, and he reached out to Dan, and he's been on Dan's show many times. He was on our show last Wednesday night, and he's a huge Bears fan. He's 50 years old. He's been a Bears fan since 1985. He fell in love with them and has watched them ever since loyally. Yeah, from New England, Lynn. Pickled. Especially after last night. Had to have a couple of those. So they became really good friends, and Dan had a really great idea to bring Chris over to America. Never been here, so never seen a Bears game live. So he started a GoFundMe page, and Bears fans stepped up and raised enough money to bring Chris Watts to America, to Chicago, to see a Bears game. He is going to be at the Bears game a week from this Sunday on the 15th when we play Minnesota Vikings. Dan's going to be there too. So I just love this idea. And Chris watches my show too. Thanks, Chris. And I just love this story. The Bears just needed a good feel-good story. So I started writing TV stations and letting them know about this story. And only one reached out, but God bless them. They're the smart ones. It's called Good Day Chicago. It's on WFLD 32 Fox. It's on from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning, Monday through Friday. And next Friday, a week from today, on Friday the 13th, Chris and Dan are going to be on that show as super fans. Isn't that cool? So turn on, if you're in Illinois or anywhere you can get the show, Good Day Chicago. They say they're going to be on. I don't know exactly. I think Dan said 9:10, but I would make sure you're on the show. I turn on the TV around 9 and leave it on. You're going to see Chris Watts from England and Dan, my partner in crime, on our podcast. So, cool story. I did call the Bears and let them know. I called George McCaskey and left a message on his voicemail about this. And I said, Mr. McCaskey, the Bears can use some really good publicity. I haven't heard yet, but that was only a few days ago. I finally decided to call him because, I have his phone number. If you're a watcher, you know that. And if you're not, you're going to have to stick around to find out why, because I'll talk about that if he answers me, because it's a really cool story, too. So I am a little tight with Mr. McCaskey. Just saying, he gave me his phone number. I know. You're all a little jealous. But, so is that the coolest thing? So please, if you're in Chicago, tape the show if you have to work. Bring it up online. I did. You can bring it up online and watch it live. Good Day Chicago, Friday the 13th, around 9:05, 9:10. Chris Watts from England and Dan, my buddy from our podcast, will be on. Isn't that cool? So it is and it's a good, feel-good story. I mean, Bears fans chipped in to bring this guy over to America. I mean, and he's going to a game. How cool is that? See, there are still really good people here left on this earth. And Bears fans are definitely one of them. So definitely check that out. It's just a great story. And those two are just so excited. They're like, I can't believe you did that, Lynn. I'm like, hey, it's a great story. I figured, what the heck? Nobody answers. And I really do hope the Bears answer because, they should. They could use some real good publicity. So, let's see what happens. So, it's a good day, isn't it? It's a good day to be a Bears fan. I know, isn't it? I mean, see what a win can do for everybody? Although it's been a long time coming. But, so people, let's just enjoy the W. Hope the Bears get some rest. Fix these aches and pains and these injuries that happen. Get our backfield on the field next week on the 15th, playing Minnesota. And let's just continue this roll. Let's just continue. You know what? If the Bears offense can outscore the other teams, and our Bears defense gives up 20 points a game, I don't give a shit as long as we get a W. And I'm sure you're all feeling the same way, right? So enjoy the weekend. It really was a good, solid game. I love you, Bears. I always love them, but boy, I really love them today. So, guys, it's been a pleasure sitting here and talking about positive stuff instead of blowing my lid like I did on Monday's show, because I was pissed. Several of my friends said, I was like, I hope I expressed myself. They said, oh, you expressed yourself on Monday. Don't worry about that. But see, I can be really pissed and really happy. This is Happy Lynn. So, enjoy the W. I will be back next Friday on the 13th, the Friday before the show. So I get a little mini bye, which I can use. And, let's just keep this going. I'm pretty sure we're not going to read any negative shit this week, which is really good for everybody. And the one thing about this win, though, is Flus gets to keep his job another week. Because there was a lot of talk that Flus was going to be fired if we lost this game. I don't know who they were going to put in his place, but they won. So, you know what? But again, and I hate to be a little negative Nelly, I think he's going to be fired at the end of the season anyways, and I think everybody wants him gone. I just don't think he's the person for this job, but we're not going to talk about that now. So, shut up, Lynn. Shut up. All right. Okay, so, as always, be kind, love one another. Let's enjoy this week. Be happy. We have a good reason to be happy these next couple days. Go out there with a smile on your face. Be proud to be a Bears fan. And, just stop hate, help people, love one another, okay? Please. I don't ask much, but I do ask that, besides being a loyal Bears fan. So, as always, I love you guys. I really appreciate the views. I hope you just keep turning me on, because you know I like it. Boom. So, go Bears, and keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. See you next Friday.